You ever notice how firelight makes everything look older? It softens the edges of a man's face, settles into the wrinkles like it's been there before. Makes a young fella look thoughtful and an old one look eternal. That's what this fire's doing to me. Right now, I've been sitting by fires like this since I was small enough to trip over a saddle blanket, and every one of those fires is known. The tiring! Every cowboy's got a brand on the ranch. Folks who've never worked cattle think it's just a mark, just a hot piece of steel pressed against hide. But they don't understand. They don't feel what it means when that iron hisses against hair and skin and leaves behind a shape. That'll ride that animal all its days. An iron brand is ownership. Sure, but it's also identity. It's history, it's loyalty, it's a name, written in smoke. Our brand was simple if you just glanced at it. A lazy S, laid low and easy, crossed through by a straight running bar. Clean lines, no fuss. But that brand carried more weight than any saddle I ever lifted. My great-granddaddy made it himself, hand-forged, right out behind the first barn he built on that stretch of open prairie, back when fences were scarce and truss was thinner than barbed wire. He heated that iron in a coal pit and bent it slow, hammer ringing against steel, shaping not just a mark, but a declaration. This land, these cattle, this family, that was near 100 years ago, and that same iron still sits wrapped in oilcloth in my tack. When I was a boy, I wasn't allowed near it. Not at first. I remember the first branding I was old enough to truly see. Spring had just cracked open. You could smell thawed earth under the frost, hear meadow larks testing their voices again. The sky was that sharp blue that only shows itself after winter's done beating you down. Branding Day wasn't quiet. It was community. Neighbors rolled in before dawn. Horses snorted in the chill. Coffee boiled thick and black in dented enamel pots. Women set up tables with biscuits and salt pork and beans, but they'd been cooking since before sunrise. The calves bawled in the holding pen. Dust rose, ropes swung, men laughed, and there laid across two iron hooks over a fire that burned hotter than summer noon sat the brands, each one different, each one sacred. My father lifted ours from the rack with thick gloves. Even before it touched hide, I could smell it. That sharp metallic heat mixed with smoke and singed hair. A smell that sticks in your memory, whether you want it to or not. He knelt beside a calf my uncle had roped and flanked. Watch close, he told me. The iron pressed. Down, there was a hiss, short and fierce, like a rattler warning before a strike. And when he lifted it, there it was, our name, burned clean, permanent. I didn't understand it yet. Not truly. I just saw power, saw the finality of it, saw the way every man there nodded when it was done. On the open ranch, cattle from different outfits grazed together. There weren't fences stretching forever like there are now. When roundup came, you sorted by brand. You rode through a sea of moving muscle and dust, eyes trained on flanks and hips looking for your mark. Without that iron, a cow wasn't yours. With it, no man could claim otherwise. And messing with another man's brand, that wasn't just theft, that was war. I grew up knowing that before I knew multiplication, but understanding something and respecting. Those are two different roads, and I had a hard lesson waiting for me. I was 17 the day I nearly lost it. 17's a dangerous age, old enough to think. You're a man, young enough to prove you ain't. Spring had come heavy that year. Grass thick, calves strong. We had more stock than we'd run in years. My father was proud, though he didn't say it much. Pride in him came out sideways, in longer work days and quieter smiles. He'd Started letting me ride the outer edges of the ranch alone. Started handing me responsibility like it was something earned. I wanted more. Brandon's season was close again. The iron had been taken down from its peg and cleaned proper. My father always did that himself. He'd sit at the workbench in the tack room, lantern swinging overhead, and rub that iron down with oil until it gleamed dull and dark like old blood. I watched him. "Once you'll carry this some day," he said without looking up. The words hit me square in the chest. I wanted that day to come faster than it should. One afternoon, when he'd ridden into town for feed, I found myself alone in the barn. The iron was there on the bench, cold, silent, waiting. I don't rightly know what possessed me. Maybe I just wanted to feel its weight in my hands without him watching. Maybe I wanted to imagine I already owned it. I picked it up. It was heavier than... It looked solid, balanced, the grip worn smooth by 3 generations of calloused palms. I swung it lightly through the air like a sword foolish, smiling to myself like a boy, pretending that legend then. I heard boots crunch on gravel outside, startled. I turned too fast. The iron slipped. Metal struck wood, then stone. The sound it made when it hit the barn floor. I still hear it sometimes at night, a sharp crack followed by silence, so thick it pressed on my ears. I stared down. The running bar, the straight line that crossed through the lazy S, had bent. Not much, but enough. Enough that the shape was wrong. Enough that our name was crooked. My stomach dropped like I'd fallen off a cliff. I grabbed it, tried to bend it back with my hands. Steel doesn't forgive like that. It resisted, mocked me. That was when my father stepped through the barn door. He saw my face first, then he saw the iron. He didn't shout. That would have been easier. He walked over slow, took the brand from my hands, turned it over, studied the bend. I waited for thunder. Instead, he just exhaled, a long, tired breath. "Do you know what that is?" He asked. "Our brand," I said. He shook his head. "No, that's your great-grandfather's hammer strokes. That's the first winter he survived on this land. That's your grandfather's cattle after the drought of '49. That's every calf I ever marked, hoping it'd grow strong." He looked at me then. "That ain't metal, son. That's memory. Shame burns hotter than iron." I tried to apologize. Words stumbled and died in my throat. He didn't yell. He just said, "We'll fix it." But there was disappointment in his eyes, and that hurt worse than anger. We spent the evening at the forge. He heated the iron until it glowed dull red, placed it on the anvil, handed me the hammer. "Careful," he said. "Each strike had to be measured. Too hard and we'd warp the curve. Too soft and the bend would remain." I hammered slow. Sweat ran down my spine despite the cool night air. Sparks jumped like fireflies. When we were done, the bar was straight again, but if you looked close, real close, you could see where it had once bent, a faint scar in the steel. He held it up to the lantern light. "Now it's yours," he said. I didn't understand. "You bent it," he continued. "You helped mend it. You'll remember that every time you hold it." He wrapped it back in oilcloth and handed it to me. And just like that, boyhood ended. Years move faster than cattle in a storm, one. Day you're trying to prove yourself, next day your beard's gone gray and your knees ache in the saddle. I carried that brand through droughts that cracked the earth wide open, through floods that turned pasture into swamp, through winters where calves froze standing up and summers where grass burned down to nothing. Every spring I heated that iron. Every spring I pressed our name into new hide. Every time I saw that faint scar in the bar, and I remembered the brand became more than history. It became responsibility. because once your cows receive the brand, they're part of the ranch just as much as a cowboy is. They carry your mark across hills and valleys. They feed families. They represent your word when you sell them. A crooked brand means confusion. A false brand means betrayal. A stolen brand means blood. Out here, reputation travels faster than wind. And a brand is reputation made visible. My father passed quiet one winter morning. Snow soft on the roof, breath thin in his chest. Before he went, he made me bring the iron to his bedside. He rested his hand on it. "Keep it clean," he whispered. "Not just the metal, the meaning. Now I sit by this fire. Same stars overhead, though they look closer somehow. My own boy is near the age I was when I dropped that iron. He's strong. Good hams. Quick with a rope. Still a little too sure of himself. I see myself in him. That worries me. Soon I'll take him to the tackle room. Unwrap the oilcloth. Place that iron in his palms. I won't give him a speech. I'll tell him this story. About pride, about mistakes, about mending what you've been. Because someday he'll sit by a fire like this one. Hair silvered, hands worn. And he'll tell the next generation about the day I almost lost the brand. And maybe he'll run his thumb across that faint scar in the steel. And remember that a name isn't something you inherit free and clear. It's something you protect something. You earn. The fire's burning low now, but that iron will outlast me long after I'm dust undo this prairie. Long after these boots are hung up and forgotten, that lazy S with its straight running bar will still press into fresh hide somewhere under an open sky. And when it does, a part of me will ride with it. That's the truth of it. An iron brand ain't just a mark on cattle. It's the pride of the ranch, and it marks the heart of every cowboy who dares to carry it.